Let's be honest, the bicep is one of the most attractive muscles you can build. It fills out your shirt, it makes you look strong, and yes, women notice it. It's the first muscle they touch when they grab your arm, and if there's nothing there, it's game over. If you want to build an aesthetic and confident look, this video is for you. I'm gonna show you exactly how I grew my biceps fast with just 2 simple exercises. If you're ready, let's get started. So when it comes to training your biceps, there's countless amounts of exercises that you can do if you want to target your bicep. You can do a cable curl, you can do a standing curl, you can do a bicep curl, you can do a seated curl. There's a bunch of different exercises that you can do, but the key here is not actually what type of exercise that you need to do, because they're all effective in their different ways. And the key difference that I did when it comes to growing my biceps was not just the exercises, but how I approached my training. So the first thing that I focused on was volume. So every single week, I tried to hit my biceps at least 12 sets. And if I could, I would train my biceps even more. So that's one of the first key things here. If you want to grow your biceps, you need to train them more often. More training equals more growth. Secondly, I stopped using baby weights and I started to increase the weight. So I progressively overload. Every single workout, I tried to do the exercise harder. Right? So I try to either increase the weights, I try to increase the intensity by resting less or focusing more on the control and doing the exercise correctly. But the key point here is that I progressively overloaded every single workout and I tracked it with the use of a notepad or an app. There's many different ways that you can track your progression. The third thing was to bring every single set, so like all of these 12 sets that I wanted to do or more, like sometimes I would do 16 sets, 20 sets per week. Every single set, I wouldn't even count a set if I didn't bring that set to failure. Warm-up sets don't count. The sets that count are the ones where you're pushing yourself and really bringing that set, bringing the muscle all the way until failure. So you want to go heavy and you need to go hard. If you don't, then you just might as well not do the exercise. And that was the biggest change that I did when it came to my training and when I was to growing my biceps and I really started to see results was when I started to bring all of my sets always to failure. When we're trying to do that much volume, you want to train smart. So you don't want to train your biceps one day after the other. So what I would do, I would have a shoulder workout, and if I had energy, I would add some biceps after. And then the next day I would do chest and triceps. And then when it was time for back, I would add more biceps after that workout. And then I would even have days where I would go into the gym and just train my biceps. So that's also, we could say the 4 key thing here is that if you want to grow your biceps, you need to train them and you need to treat them as the main muscle, right? So I would have days where I go to the gym and just train my biceps, or I would do just arms, so like biceps and triceps. So you need to treat the bicep not just as a thing that you do after the main muscles, like after training back or after doing shoulders or after doing chest, then you do a little bit of biceps. What I would do at least once a week was to go into the gym and say like, today I'm going to hit biceps. And that was the focus. And the goal was to destroy my arms. Like that was the goal. The goal was to destroy my arms so I couldn't even lift them or use them afterwards. Like that was the goal. So going into the shower, I couldn't even freaking shampoo myself. So now that we have that out of the way, so like the actual training method, now we can get into talking about the actual exercises that I did. So going back to what I said in the beginning, that you don't need to do a million different exercises if you want to grow your biceps. What I did was only 2 exercises. And the exercises that I focused on, the first one was just the standard bicep curl. Okay, so a standing dumbbell curl, and it's not more complicated than that. So following the training method, like I explained, I would just do the bicep curl 2 or 3 times per week. I would come into the gym, I would do 6 sets of standing bicep curls, or as many as I felt like I could do on that particular day. And when it comes to doing the standing bicep curl, I see a lot of people doing it wrong, right? So when you do the bicep curl, you want to bring the dumbbell all the way up, almost so that it's touching your shoulder. And then you want to bring it down with control. So like also the eccentric part is extremely important. And you're training your muscle when you're controlling the weight on the way down too. Then you also want to control by using your core muscles and stabilizing your body. You want to limit any kind of swinging. So right, it's like when you're doing the exercise in the beginning, so the first few reps, you want the form to be perfect.
Perfection.
Right? So you want to really focus and do the exercise correctly. Really bring the dumbbell all the way up, squeeze the bicep, control on the way down, and then do the other arm. And then yes, when you start reaching those last reps, then it's okay to do an ugly face, to compromise on the form. So my approach when it comes to my training is like, I want to do the first reps with really good form, and then the last ones where I'm going all the way to failure. If the form lacks a bit, that's completely fine. The key thing is that I want to push, right? You want to push, and if it's ugly, that's okay. But the key thing is that you want to go heavy and you want to push yourself. So when you do an exercise, and it's the same exercise, workout after workout after workout, I learned how to do the exercise quickly. My mind-body connection became established really quick, and I knew how to do it, you know? So it was easy for me to start to progressively overload and do heavier and heavier weights, and that's when I started to see my biceps growing. Now, the second exercise that I did was a single arm preacher curl. And you can do this on a machine, you can do this on a specific bench. I simply used a bench that you have at any gym. So like a simple, normal bench. The reason why I like this one is because you can literally do it anywhere. You know, it's super easy. Any gym that you walk into, they're going to have a bench that you can incline, and then you can do a single arm preacher curl. And the reason to do this exercise compared to the bicep curl, when you're doing the standing bicep curl, you're using a little bit other muscles. You're using your core to stabilize yourself. You can swing to help the dumbbell come up. You can use a bit of your shoulder as well to bring the dumbbell up. So when you use the single arm preacher curl, by putting the arm on the bench, you really isolate the bicep. So the only muscle really that you have to pull up the dumbbell is your biceps. So it's a great isolation movement. So you're combining it with kind of a compound movement, you could say the bicep curl is, and then you combine that with a more of an isolation movement. So that's why I really like the single arm preacher curl. Another reason why I like it is because when you use, for example, like a barbell, you're using both arms to bring the weight up, and that might cause imbalances. So some people, like I'm right-handed, so I'm stronger on the right hand. I don't really know if I'm bringing the weights up with both arms the same. So like that's why I like to use dumbbells to fix any imbalances. And also you can really focus on that one muscle. So when I do the preacher curl, I do one arm at a time. I really bring it all the way until failure, and then I have a break. So then I rest for maybe 20, 30, maybe even 1 minute before going on and doing the next arm. And that's completely fine. And I see a lot of people, when they do isolation movements, when you do one arm at a time, you don't rest enough between the different arms, right? So you want to rest enough between so that you can go all the way to failure with the other arm. And it's not the cardio that's limiting you, but it's the strength of your muscle that's limiting you. So a few tips when it comes to doing the preacher curl. You want to, obviously, when you're going down with the dumbbell, you don't want to go all the way down because that might cause a bicep tear if you're going heavy, and maybe if you're not having enough electrolytes or if you're not used to the movement enough, then you might cause a tear in the bicep. So you want to bring down the dumbbell slowly with control, and you don't need to extend the arm all the way out. Just go to a place where you feel is comfortable and you're feeling the stimulus in the muscle, and then bring the dumbbell up, squeeze your bicep at the top, and then bring it down with control again. And then when you start to reach to the last few reps and you can't really do any more, that's when you use your other arm to really help you push that little bit extra. So you're going 100% all the way to failure. And it's not more complicated than that. So like I said, just want to hit your bicep at least 12 sets to failure every single week. And then just do these two exercises. You can either add it after a shoulder workout, add it after a chest workout, but then also remember to go into the gym and just do these exercises by themselves, and then focus on going as heavy as you can and as powerful as you can on these exercises. And then if you have energy, you can do something else, but you need to prioritize the muscle that you want to build. Now, this is without mentioning that you also need to, of course, dial in your diet and dial in your sleep, manage your stress, and reduce your cortisol levels. These are all things that are outside of the scope of this video. Here you have the training, and if you're someone who struggles with what to eat, how to train, how to set up a program, how to manage your sleep and get good habits, then you can apply to work one-on-one directly with me in the link in the description, and we can see if there's a fit for you and me to work together, and I'll set everything up for you. And I'll make sure that you hit your arms the days of the week that you need to. Now that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something. I'll see you in the next one.